All right, we're gonna do a special short. We're gonna call it story time with Uncle Chris. We were talking about something earlier, and there's as y'all might have figured out if you're a regular listener, for almost every topic, there's a Chris story to go along with it.
It's been around, man.
We were talking about sometimes you just gotta kind of pick your battles, and sometimes maybe you'd rather be happy than be right. And there's a story I reminded Chris about it, and I've been tickled ever since. But y'all had some vandalism one time. Was it on a job, on a logging job?
So we
tell us that one.
We
It
moved the logging crew in one time up in Monroe County, Mississippi, and there's a little community called Bartahatchee, and it was known. This has been 25 years ago, and it was known for just being rough and pretty rough characters up there. And so we moved a logging crew in there, and so we come back on Monday, and a guy named James Chang was one of my loggers, and he's a pretty tough dude too, old coon hunter. And he called me, Chris, we got a problem. I said, what's that? He said, somebody done got the Skidder over the weekend. He said, drove it out of here and drove it down the road. Pushed, and he said, you got to get up here. I said, okay. I said, let me get on up there. So we get up there, and we look, and the Skidder's at mud and stuff all over it. And you could tell somebody done pushed with it. And so we just followed the tracks.
Well, now, was it tore up or just somebody just borrowed it? Somebody just used it and brought it back?
Used it all weekend and brought it back. So when we got up there, we just followed the tracks, and we got up there, and we go probably half a mile down the road, and pretty rough couple trailers and an old house, and we pulled up, and you could see fresh where they had pushed and everything.
Because you were following the mud.
Yeah, we were following the mud on the road, and I'm like, well, there it is. So we get up there, and we get our game plan. Old James, pretty tough dude. So we was going to go up there, and boy, we was going to whoop some ass and really, make a statement when we was up there. So we get up there, and I beat on that door, boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. And I hear somebody holler, hey, yeah. So I look, I wasn't going in there, I waited. All of a sudden, I could hear somebody squirreling around, 2, 3 folks. There's a dude opened that door up, and he had shoulders about that big. And back then, 25 years ago, marijuana was a big deal.
Yeah, it wasn't legal.
It wasn't legal.
Yeah.
And a dude tattooed up with big old shoulders and smoking a joint, he's probably going to knock hell out of you.
You were on his porch.
So he came up, and I was young. I mean, thought be a tough guy. I looked up at that dude. I said, oh, my God. and I could see up through there they had 2 deer hindquarters on the table and had a knife. And one dude was over there, and, I mean, he's pretty rough cat.
Butchering a deer on the table.
I mean, there was more teeth in your pocket than he had in his head. And I said, I looked at him. I said,
you ready to fight?
Yeah, we thought we was. I looked, and I said, let me tell you something. I got a job offer for you. And he looked at me and said, what? I said, let me tell you something. I said, we logging down here. We got a big outfit out of Columbus. And I said, I need a fella like yours help. I said, I talked to some folks, and they said, you was pretty good, you pretty tough guy. And I said, I got $200. And I handed it to him. He said, what's that for? I said, I want you to watch that logging equipment down there.
Somebody.
And if anybody gets on, I want you to whoop their ass. Don't call the cops. You take care of it. And I said, every week, you're going to have another $100 bill. And I said, looks like you've had a little pushing done up here on your place. I said,
he had just done it
with all stuff. I said, but let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to send my guy up here in a little bit. You show him what you want pushed, and we're going to push yours, and I want to make a statement, and I want you to work for me as our security guard.
Knowing he had just used
it.
He done
stole it all weekend. He looked at me, and he looked at that $200. He said, you going to give me $100? I said, every week we there, and I said, we'll be here about 4 weeks. You'll get another $100. And I said, if there's nothing tore up or stole at the end, you'll get a bonus. He said, by God, all right, I'll do it. We logged that during deer season, which is a no-no back then.
Yeah.
Because they would tear your stuff up. The first thing they would do then is steal radios, bust out windows. We even had the guy take a slam in the water cooler. In one of our previous podcasts, we talked about it. Guy vandalizing, took a big slam in the water cooler and left it. And, from that on, that guy was good. We didn't have nothing. The logging job run fine. And really, over the years, he put me on 2 different tracts of timber.
Yeah.
You know, and look, you pick your battles in life. And that battle wasn't going to be won in that yard.
That's pretty quick thinking.
Yeah. And that logger said, I can't believe you give him that money. I said, how much money you got in logging stuff? $500,000? Yeah. I said, pretty good insurance.
Yeah. That's right.
And
well, they say you attract more bees with honey.
You do, and I mean, just using your head. But it didn't take me long when that joker come out there and that marijuana rolled up out that house. I thought right then, I said, this ain't the time and the place, you know. And that was a lot of. You learned a lot. You know, I learned a lot running those logging crews for all those years and being around the people and being around. And it's really molded me in today how to handle situations, how to handle people, because you're dealing with pretty rough folks when you're cutting, and you especially around these hunting clubs. You know, they're mad. You're driving right through the middle of their hunting, and you know, I mean, so word to the wise: think clearly.
Yeah, think before you speak.
Think before you speak.
Don't ever be too proud to back down and maybe change course.
No, and I wonder. It's been 25 years. That fella's probably, he may be a governor somewhere or something. I doubt it. I doubt it. But anyway, that was pretty good. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Ordeal.
Yeah, like I said, there's always there's generally one of those Chris stories that go along with just about every situation that comes up. That one was funny.
Enjoyed living. You know, you go and you run across a lot of stuff now. I'm gonna tell you,
especially up in the where you're logging in the woods, backwoods.
Yes, I mean it's just it's an interesting time. You know, you can see times have changed. 25 years ago, I didn't know what meth or any of that kind of stuff was. But I've walked up on so many meth labs in the woods, and whiskey stills. I can still remember them today. Old whiskey stills. I come up there one time, and smoke was coming up out of the ground, and I was like, "Ain't no underground geysers here." And it was a black fella had a whiskey still, and he had that joker tin, had limbs and stuff all over it. He was making the Lord's potion, I guess. But,
that's another story for another podcast. But that's look, we may do a few of these every now and then. We may jump in and do a story time with Uncle Chris.
Sounds great.